Alright, so Sunday morning, I've just nipped down really to harvest these beans. You can see they've gone over quite quickly actually, because we've had some dry weather, and it did rain quite heavily the other day as well. So I'm going to pick the Borlotti beans and we'll pod these when we get home, and the bean casings will just get put in the compost. And the other thing I'm probably going to do is I've got some green beans down there, and I'm going to pick up some of the squashes that we've got. We haven't got that many squash this year. Usually we get quite a few, but it's not been brilliant this year. And some of them, as you can see, sort of in there, that one there has already started to die off a bit, as has this plant here. So I'll take what we've got off those, and then we'll just look at planning for next year. So yeah, just a quick one. Just going to harvest these beans, and that's easy enough. You can should be able just to pull them off the plant like that, and you can hear the bees rattling in the bags. I'm just going to chuck them in this cloth bag. And this isn't bad. I mean, we've maybe not got as many as perhaps we wanted, but we did lose all our we lost a lot of Borlotti beans last year, and we only had, I think it was 25 seeds left, and those 25 seeds, I think we planted most of them this year. So we're kind of building the crop up again, basically. So yeah, I'm just going to pick those. There's a few on here where the plants aren't quite ready yet, but looking at the state of the plants, you can see they've all started to die off. Might as well pick them. And then apples will be next, although I'm not doing those today. We'll get those done by the end of the week, or come Friday probably, and that'll be that for those. But yeah, the plot is starting to wind down a bit now. There's not really much more we can do, so now it'll just be a case of tidy everything up, plan where stuff's going to get moved to, and start rearranging the weed control fabric. I bought another roll the other day, and the stuff I'm using, it's not expensive stuff, but it's good quality. You can see it's thick, so it still lets the water through, which is good, obviously, but it does suppress pretty much all the weeds, and it doesn't break down like you can buy stuff, it's kind of cloth like almost, and I've used that before and it doesn't last very long. This stuff lasts a while, and it's cheap as well. So, and it'll take a bit of abuse, and by that I mean it's sort of like put it down, lift it up, move it, that kind of thing, so you can get a lot out of it. And yeah, so I highly recommend buying this stuff. It's the woven kind of landscaping membrane or fabric weed suppressor. You can buy it from hardware, DIY stores and places like that. You get like a 14 metre roll for about £11 or £12, so it's not hugely expensive stuff, and it like I said, it lasts a while. So right, anyway, yeah, never mind. Ups and downs as always with gardening. We'll be on to next year, so I'm just going to get these picked, and I'm going to move on to the other stuff, and that'll probably be it. Alright, okie dokie. Alright, so I've picked the Borlottis. I'm now just going through these beans, see what's here, what can be picked. So, some fairly long beans there. Trouble is you don't want them too big, because they tend to be stringy. Even the ones that say they're not going to be stringy sometimes are stringy, but you can just go around the plant. And so I've got a few there. We've already had a load off here that was currently in the freezer that we've frozen. We'll use those over winter. Same with the Borlottis really. They won't we don't grow them to eat the actual pod like you would with these. Hang on. So these you'd eat the whole thing, you'd chop them up, put them in stews or whatever. But the Borlottis we grow them purely just to dry the beans. So let me switch hands, that might be a bit easier. But these, yeah, so we might even get a few more. I've just noticed as well though. You see up there, possibly. Oh, there's definitely one there. Look. Snails. They get everywhere. They're like 6 foot off the ground almost, and snails are in there munching on beans. I think that's one of the things that we've had issues with this year. I think quite a few people have as well. It's been a really bad year for slugs, or at least it's been a good year for the slugs, but bad year for people who like to grow stuff and that slugs like to eat. So yeah, I'm just finishing picking these off. I have picked a few other bits and pieces. I think the thing to take away from this year is that we've had some, well, it's not, we usually get a lot more than this, put it that way. And sometimes it's easy to get disheartened and you think, why have I bothered? And well, that doesn't work. But the thing to do is you get that. Sometimes you have good years, sometimes you have bad years. The way I look at it is that there's always next year. So have a look at what grew well, maybe grow it again. Have a look at what didn't grow well. You can choose then to either grow it again or maybe move it about, like our squash plants didn't do well at all. So the idea next year is to grow them different site on the plot, as I said. So pretty much in a direct straight line down the middle of the plot, which is where they seem, we've grown them that way before and they all seem to do much better like that. So why they don't grow well over there, I don't know. Really couldn't say, especially when a lot of other plants do perfectly fine over there. So getting a good haul of beans there. But yeah, so as I said, there's always next year. And some of the positives I'm taking away is that we have still got stuff. It's not like we didn't manage to grow anything at all, because we've got beans. Our Borlotti bean crop will be better this year than it was last year, plus we'll have the seed to keep that crop going next year, so we won't have to buy any. Our broad beans did well. We've got quite a good stash of those in the freezer, which will see us through a big chunk of the winter as well, putting those in stews and what have you. So whilst we haven't got loads of stuff, we haven't got, it's not like we haven't got zero, you know. So we've got stuff, we've grown stuff, there's something that we can, that can show for the hard work that we've put in. Right, I'll carry on getting these beans picked, and then we'll see where we're at. Right, so there we go. So there's my beans, the Borlottis and the runners. There's a few squashes, the uchikuris or the little patty morans or whatever you want to call them. Last year they were a lot bigger than that, but they're, you know, still use these in meals. We're not going to get a very good haul of squashes this year. There are a few others that I've left growing, but I think for the most part that's probably about it. Usually we'd have 3 or 4 times this amount and some, you know, really large ones. And I don't think the weather's helped much. The weather's been a bit strange. It's either been really hot or cold and wet. There's been no consistency. Not that there really ever is in this country, but there you go. You know, but like I said, there's things to take away, things that have done well. I mean, rhubarb, a fantastic crop of rhubarb this year. Doesn't look like it at the moment because it's all starting to sort of go back. I mean, there is a little bit that I could probably harvest, but we don't need to. We've got a freezer full. And we've made rhubarb wine as well. We've got kale, we've still got chard, red and white. What else have we got down here? Obviously, apples at the back. We'll probably still get some more courgettes because I can see some flowers on there, so providing the weather's sort of reasonable, you know. And we've got beans and stuff like that. The grapes, don't really know how they're going to do this year, to be honest. But we had quite a lot of stuff. We've had radishes, so there's things to take away. It's not a complete and utter waste of time, you know. I think given circumstances, not done too badly really. And obviously, you know, things like this, parsnips. There's some really good parsnips in here. It looks a bit of a jumble, but these are all self-seeders. Well, we kind of helped them. We've already dug up a load, some of which we're going to have with our dinner today, and there's still plenty more in there. You know, and this was just a little bare patch that we had that we sprinkled the seeds on, and that was it. So there's things to take away from it. You know, I tend to, like I said, look at it and say, well, there's positives, and the negatives, well, I'll look at them and see where I can change things and maybe make things better. But there, anyway, that's today's visit over and done with. You can see the leaves are starting to turn on a lot of the plants, so it's now first week of September, give or take. The autumn is definitely on its way, which is why we need to get up there and get those apples sorted out as soon as possible. And we'll go from there then. Like I said, most of what I'm thinking about doing down here is planning for next year. Right, thanks for watching.